Hi everyone, this is Amy with Chillin with Amy Paint Canvas. Glad you could join me today. I just wanted to show you how I'm going to paint this snowman on this board with some cute little cardinals and some birch trees. So I'm going to switch this over to this other camera so you can see a little bit better. And I'm going to be using StreamYard, so if you want to comment, you'll need to grant them permission to post your profile pic. Um, Anyhow, I'm going to get started here. This is a basic 1 by 12, 4 foot long board, and I just painted it. It's a little bit wet yet, but I had some blue behind it and I painted some gray over top of it. And I've just roughly sketched on what I'm going to do just to make it easier for you guys um, to see what I'm doing here. But I will go ahead and just get started here. I'm going to start with I just have a simple little chip brush here. You can buy them anywhere, hardware store. If you have a Harbor Freight, they've got a great deal on those. And I'm just going to start with, getting my snowman on there. And I've got a lot of white paint here, some of my basic colors here. This is a very nice thing about this is you can use a lot of basic colors, so you don't have to go out and buy a bunch of different colors. And I'm just going to get this outlined here where I'm going to put my snowman. And I have carried this a lot, just a little spritzer bottle to spray my paints with. The acrylics tend to get awful dry pretty quick. And I just want to get, now you can, if you're worried about making circles, perfect circles or whatever, you can take something round that you have and trace the circle around, or do the old carpenters trick. They got the string in the middle there with the pencil on the end, and you bring it around. But I just want to freehand this a little bit. That little sketch was just freehand. I'm just gonna get him in there. I have a hair dryer handy on this one because a couple little spots here when we get there, I want to dry it pretty quick so that you guys can see when I go and do. I've got a stencil that I actually got it off of Wall Cuts. That's where I got my stencil on this one. I usually get a lot off of Essential, but they didn't have the one I wanted, so I found one there. And you wouldn't have to stencil. You could always, just go ahead and freehand it or print it out on your computer and then just trace it on. That's a lot of times how I'll do it. If I don't have what I want and I need it pretty quick, I'll just print it out on my computer and get it sized the way I want it, and then I just take some carbon paper and trace over it. Stencils are nice because you can just go ahead and plop it on there and put the paint on and be done, but you got to do a little more with the tracing. But I'm just getting my Essential building the snowman right now, just getting it on there. Okay, I'm going to come up here under his hat, where I'm going to put his hat. You can make your snowman any shape you want. You don't have to have 3 snowballs on there. You could just do 2 or 4 if you wanted, but so whatever you want to do. I'm just doing the basic 3 here. I'll put those on. And then I'm going to take, I'm going to get a little bit of that black in there. Yep, my myself a little bit of gray. I want to kind of get my gray back here on the corners here. And we'll outline this with a little bit of black, but just kind of want to give a little swoop of that inside my snowman here to kind of indicate the round and give it a little bit of shadow. You could use blue if you'd rather use blue or something. A little bit under that hat. Okay. I'll rinse out this brush a little bit. Put my water over here. Let's make that white a little bit. Now just wherever I kind of want to smooth out some of that gray I just put on, maybe I don't want it quite that strong. Where I think it's going to be a little bit brighter. If your paint's not totally dry underneath when you're doing all this, your layers, you got to be careful you push too hard or go on it too quick before it's all the way dry, then you will peel off paint from below. That's some of my blue. Oops, got a little bump of sun-dried paint or something there, I didn't know. Okay. So that's our basic snow guy here. Look at the figures there. Put that up a little bit so you can see that a little bit more there. So we got the basic roundness in there, and I'm going to take one of these, so I got a 3/4 inch brush here. I want to bring mine out just a little bit more here. I want to be a little bit on that side there. A little more round, I guess you'd say. It's okay, some of him's, going off the edges there, but that's fine. And look, the bottom is bigger. That would be awful awkward snowman if the bottom's not bigger than the top, right? There we go. Trying to clean up where my bottom there. There we go. All right. Rinse out my brush again. And before I go into doing like the details on his body there and all that, I'm going to go ahead and get his hat put on. Well, actually, before I do the hat, I'm going to start putting in the white for the birch trees. Sorry. Get some more white. And then this gray background, you could change it up, of course, any color you want, blue, whatever. But I like the gray and the contrast with these trees. I think of a snowy day anyhow. And I just kind of sketched some quick little lines down where I think, my trees are going to be. And they're not perfectly straight by no means. I'm just going to kind of put that in, and they're going to come down here, probably in there, and it'll be down here at the bottom. And this first one, it just kind of goes all the way off the side here. I'm just putting in a coat of white. We'll make them look like birch trees. A quick little technique. It's not, perfect. Not going to be totally realism, but just a fun little snowman. And some nice trees and his happy friends of some cardinals. Love cardinals. In wintertime, everybody thinks of in the wintertime especially, but I see them all the time. I just love them. And I'm going to leave just a little around his face there, because we're going to outline that, like I said, with some black. And so I'll leave that in there. So everybody excited about winter time? I think everybody's already, like, at least in Ohio, everybody's already like, I'm done. We've had a couple snows, I'm done. We still got a lot of winter yet. So baby, it is still cold outside. That's kind of why I come up with, instead of just baby, it's cold outside, I'm putting baby, it's still cold outside. And a lot of stuff going on. So I got you'll see on my post down below, I added the link also if you wanted to check it out. But I've got a virtual paint party coming up February 5th and 6th. And Hope, Faith, and Love. And there's a cute little teapot, and then a fun, easier fun one on the second day. It's a 2-day weekend retreat, I'm calling it. And it's going to be a lot of fun, but just to sit back and sip and paint and snack. And I've got, I'm going to include a couple recipes on that snack for you. If you wanted to try them, you're welcome. So I'll just put the recipes on there in the group. So if you wanted to try the snack, you could. And then, of course, use your favorite sipping, tea, coffee. I'm actually sipping on Diet Coke right now. But it's just to sit back and relax. And we're going to do a multimedia on that one. So it's going to be a lot of fun, a little bit different than what I usually do. Something new to try. And just a lot of fun. And some of the things, I try to keep the supply list pretty simple, but a lot of the things you might just have, already. So you won't have to go out and spend a whole lot on that. And it's just $10 to sign up, and your whole family can join in on that. Or if you have a couple girlfriends over or something, you could sit and enjoy that with them. So I'm just getting in, as you can see, I'm just putting in the birch trees, the white part of the birch trees. And again, this, no trees are perfectly straight. So if you get a little squiggly like I do sometimes, it's okay. But right now, I'm just putting in the white. And I'm going to have one smaller one, about the width of my brush, coming down through here. And that one's going to show just a little bit right there. And then it'll be like right in there. And some of it will get covered up with the scarf and stuff, but some of it will be showing. So I'm going to put that in there, a little bit right there. Okay, and then this one's a little bit wider. And this one comes down through behind his body there, so we won't put it all the way down at the bottom anywhere. It's just going to show up here at the top. And I'm using a fair amount of paint on my brush because, again, I've got paint underneath. It's not totally dry. I don't want to peel that up. I want to get a decent coverage there, but I don't have to keep going over it. All right, so the trees basically are blocked in with the white. With that same brush, I'm gonna go and do on the hat there. I don't want to get my, as I said, when I get my sip here. A little dried out. All right. So you can pick, whatever color you want to do your hat. I've got some green here, and kind of stands out. I'm going to actually add some white to it. I want it pretty green, but I didn't want it total. In the dark areas, I'll have it a little bit darker, but for right now, I just want a nice, little bit lighter green. I'm just going to outline and fill in for now. This little section right here, come down. I love these kind of styles of the hats. Again, you could make your hat any way you want, but this just happens to be one I definitely like. Get that white mixed up a little bit better there. I'm actually working on, you'll be seeing, not too long, you're going to see it. I'm going to try to get it done if not, I'll have it next week for that. But I'm working on the barn quilt. I don't know if you're familiar with that or not, but years ago, I have a posting I can share with you about it, but a lady had wanted to preserve her grandmother's quilt, so she painted it to put it on the barn, and it kind of caught on, and there's a big long story with that, but anyhow, I just loved it, and I'm working on making my own cutout kit, basically, and thinking maybe might do an in-person party with it, like a workshop, where you would pre-order your kit, and then we would meet up and paint it. And I'm just going to make it like a 3D and have a frame. And so you would be putting it, painting the background, painting your pieces that go on top for the 3D. And then we would be nailing together a little simple little frame around it. So I'm going to take some of this black in with my green now. So it's really dark here. And I want this a little more separation here with that dark. Just put a little bit up here on the top. Like I said, we'll be outlining it, but this is a little more for shadow, I guess, purposes, I would say. Over here, a little bit on this side. Here. We're going to put some, we'll put a little bit of highlights and stuff here. Some white. So we're going to add some, and you can add yellows if you want to add a little bit of yellow to that hat for your highlight. There's a little yellow here. So you wanted to have a little bit more of a yellow tinge to up here where it's highlighted here, like up in this area here. And just kind of brush it over. Guess it's still a little light green, but a little bit up here on the rim. Just kind of bring that up a little bit. I want it to stay kind of dark towards the right in this area. So that's kind of where it kind of flips on them. Okay. Then when we get a little bit further, we're going to take and put a little bit of snow on them. There we go. All right, that's enough to get that started on the hat. He's got a nice big hat on him. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and we'll go ahead and get his little face done up and get his little buttons and stuff put on. And I've just got a little filbert brush here. It's a little number 4 filbert brush. I'm going to use that up here on his face. Got a little spot pulled off there. I've got a liner brush, a little filbert brush, and a little number 1 round brush for when I do the little details. But first I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take that liner. I'm going to get some black. And I'm just going to go in here and kind of decide, okay, where's his, his nose going to end up? And it's going to be about right here, I think. And it's going to come up here. I want it to come up through the hat some. It's a nice big nose. And I point it up. You can point it sideways, however you want to do, but I like to point it up this way for when I want to show that he's excited and happy. So just kind of put that in there. And then I can come in here and I'm going to put in his little eyes. And he's kind of looking up and he's all excited and happy. He's got the little crinkles here because he's excited. Okay. Let's make them just a little bit thicker there. And if you don't like them, you can wipe them off with the baby wipe or paint over top of them or let them dry and just do it again, but I'm fine with those. And I'm just going to start giving them a little I want a great big kind of smile here for them. I want them to be really smiling. I'm just taking that filbert brush right now and just putting it in where I want his mouth to be. Great little smile. I'll put one more there, one there. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger. And I'm just kind of pushing. See how he's got little pieces of coal there for his mouth, little stones. So nothing doesn't have to be perfectly round or anything. Make these a little bit bigger on the bottom here. And you better watch out if you keep going, you'll have them extremely big, which is what I tend to do. He's got a nice big smile. Now I'm going to take, I just want a little bit of red, touch of that white. Don't want a ton of it. In fact, I got a little black in my brush still. I want a little bit of like a light pink color. I need to wash that brush out. It's better than I did, I guess. I still have a lot of black in it. So I want it just a light pink. And just give him a little bit of a rosy cheek. Okay. Then I got it kind of wet there. Just going to pop in some little rosy cheeks here. just to kind of, he's all happy and smiling. There we go. You can make them a little bit, if you want them a little bit darker, you can make them a little bit darker or different shade of pink, whatever you'd like. All right, so then we got his nose there. And you can make some orange, or if you got some orange handy, I have some left over from when we did all our pumpkins. So I've got a little bit of a harvest orange, which is a little bit darker than my pumpkin orange. I usually darken my pumpkin orange anyhow, but first I just want to get some of this in here. My white is still a little bit wet, so some of that orange is mixing in. And that's okay. We're going to get this first base coat of orange in there, and then when that dries, we can come back through. All right, I'll let that dry. Letting it dry with those little circular motions there. When that dries, then we can come back in and put more orange on it. Okay. And I need some stones down here for his belly. And the last thing, we'll do the stencil last, so it's really good and dry. If we have to, get the old hair dryer out to dry it, we will. I'll put the stones in, and then we'll get a scarf in here. Oh, we're going to put one right about here. These are going to be a little bit bigger. And maybe one right in this area. Okay, so get those belly ones in. Now, I'm going to take and I'm going to switch down here. I'm going to put in his scarf around here. I'm going to go ahead and get that in. And I'm going to be using red. But initially, I'm going to start it out. I put a little touch of black in with my red, make it a little bit darker than I want. And again, just kind of where you think you want it, and what shape you want. It's going to go around here. It's going to come up over here. This one's going to kind of, wait, let's make him a little bit. We're going to make that scarf just a little bit puffier over here. Again, I'm picking up some white, but that's okay. We'll get that over here. And over here, I'm going to have where the scarf comes out, maybe over on this side right here. It's going to come out here, come down, flutter on down here on this side. And then my other one's going to come out on this side. Something like that. And I put little tassels on there, but I'm going to use a different brush for that. take my little round brush and just at the ends here, just kind of want to put, you know, he's going to have some little tassels from his scarf here. You can put as many as you want. You can put them in groups, or however you want to do it. Just want to kind of put some little ends there. There's some over here. Not going to see as many over here because it's going off the board, off the edge there. I'm just going to put these little, like, knots where these little tassels are going to come out of his scarf. And we'll do some highlights, add a little more red to it, and clean it up here after a bit. That's just, you're basically getting the basics down first, getting those on first. All right, with that same little round brush that I had here, I'm going to go into my black. I'm going to use black. We're going to add brown to the arms and stuff here later, but for just to go ahead and put them on and get them started on here, I'm going to go ahead and add black on there. I almost messed off my paint here a little bit. I'm going to come up here, and we've got one of his little arms is going to come just out from like underneath here. Put a little arm coming out of there, and then it's going to come out over here on this side of the scarf. Go off the edge of the thing there, and then it's going to come up. You got to pretend you got an elbow up here, and then it's going to come up here like so. One up. We got a little bit wider here. I kind of want it to come on up to his other part of his hat here. Right in here. There we go. That's got a little branch off here. Maybe we're gonna put, you know, maybe he's got a little branch off there. Okay. And we're gonna go ahead and over on this other side, right about in this vicinity, just, you know, like a little bit right in here, we're going to go and do the same thing. So we're going to make this one come off the side here. It's just a little bit bigger because it's a little bit closer to us. And then it's going to come over here, come back on. I'm going to kind of give it a little break off right here. And we'll put another little branch going to come out this way. Maybe there's a little twig off of that one coming down here. And you can make that, again, you make it however you want. It's fine. All right, so that is the basis of his arm. So rinse out my brush here a little. Now while we got, I'm going to go ahead on those arms, let's pull out some of that brown, that burnt umber, and I'm going to add, while it's still a little bit wet too, I'm just going to start adding in some lines, and kind of, we'll keep most of it dark, I just want to start squiggling in some lines here. You can always highlight it, but I want to kind of just random lines throughout it to make it look a little more like a stick. Nothing too detailed, just a little bit here. Over here. A little bit up here on this part. I'll take a little bit of the white with that. And I'm just going to come and put a little bit of streaky highlights there. Not a whole lot, just we don't want this sticking out too much. Just enough to kind of show that top part of there. And some will be on this side. And then up here, there's going to be a little bit up here on this one. Okay. So there's the basics of those we got in there. Now I'm going to go ahead and we're going to work a little bit more on our trees here. I'm going to take this bigger brush here. It's still about a 3/4. It says it's number 20, but it's about a 3/4 inch wide. I'm going to touch on some of that black. Get some of the black on my brush and just kind of getting it on there. And then on the birch trees, we're just going to come in here and we'll outline it after, but first of all, I'm just going to touch and pull like here and there, different places. See how I'm kind of doing that here. I guess that's a little bit high. I need to scoot down for you. Scooch it down here. There we go. So I'm just kind of like touch and pull on the edge here. And maybe I'm going to take a couple lines here with my brush, come over and pull, and some on the other side. So it's not all perfect. Some's a little bit more, some a little less. And you don't want to cover it all. You want to leave, of course, spots, with the white. That's what's kind of neat about the birch trees is those stripes and black spots here and there. And some lines here and there. That. Okay. I don't want to forget, like underneath around him, maybe there's some under there, you just don't see all of it. And on this side as well. these little lines here and there. That's kind of what really I think makes it, because you'll see those throughout the trees. Okay. I'm going to do the same thing for up here on this other one. Maybe there's a little bit right here. Come back through some lines. Again, there are little lines. Starting to look a little bit like birch trees, aren't they? You're not going to see, like this one, you're not going to see necessarily all of them because of the edge. This one here. There. It goes down there. And we got down here where it shows a bit right there. And right here. Put that in there a little more like a line. Some lines in there. Don't forget some of our lines in this one. And down here at the very bottom, you're going to have a little bit coming out there. Showing a little bit on the bottom here. There we go. And one little spot right in here. Okay. All right. So there's our birch trees. Okay. So let's get this up just a little bit here. I guess I can keep it down. We're gonna. Okay. All right. So we got the birch trees in, and I wanted to take on my scarf here and get a brush here. I have a lot of brushes going at once here. But I'm going to go back in my red and get a fair amount of paint on my red here, on my brush here. Just wanted to put a little more red, and I'm thinking of doing the little white stripes on this one. So that red will definitely have to be good and dry. You know, we got to do that. Just a little bit. Just getting a little more paint on that red. Add over that a little bit. There we go. Then we'll let that dry, and then we can come back in and do a little more detail on the stripes on it. Okay, so our nose is still a little, still pretty wet. So I'm going to take the hairdryer, and I just grab it on the hairdryer. You can get like one of the heat gun things, but I'm going to dry this up a little bit. I just wanted to get a little bit, just dry enough so that you could work on it, because we're going to work on trying to get our little birds in there. And actually, I'm staying for that. So with that, with the little birds, I didn't really want to be like tramping on it, sticking my hand in the red and getting all icky. So, but I'm going to start with the one up on top there. And I'm going to switch this back over here so you can just focus on that. And now you can do these birds whimsical, where they're just cute little birds, not realistic looking, or you can do a little bit more realistic. That's gonna be up to you. I'm just gonna take my liner brush to start with, and I want to decide. I'm gonna have one like sitting up here on his hat, like right in this area. So his little legs I'm gonna have he's gonna be standing, not really sitting. But I'm going to start with, and I'm just going to start with putting the initial shape of the bird in. And I always start off kind of like with this like upside down raindrop shape, I guess that's what I call it. This is going to be like his little chest area right in here. Bring it down a little bit. And down in there, we'll have his tail come off of that. Okay, and then I'm just going to take a round circle and bring it in over top here. That's where we're going to put his little head. Okay, and then with that, I want to take out that little crease a little bit there. And same way with this, a little bit. I like his chest to be kind of puffed out a little bit. He's a pretty proud Cardinal guy. Okay, and then he's got a little crown here that goes on his head here. I'm gonna put that in, and kind of goes up. We're gonna have one coming up, and it's gonna kind of taper back to the back of the rest of them there. Okay, and then out here, he's just gonna have a little beak sticking out there. Okay. And then on the back here, we're going to have his tail. And you can make it, they have a pretty long tail. You can put it up in the air, you can make it come down. I think this one I'm going to put up. And it's going to kind of run off. I'm going to make it a little bit wider as I go out there. But it's going to run off the board. That back in here. Okay, that's the basic shape. And with a little bit of black here, I'm going to put him. He's got his little leg sitting here, and it's coming off his hat here. And one little foot going back behind, and the other two are kind of hanging on. Okay, and then we got one other leg back behind the bird, and it's going on the back, and maybe we got a couple little feet hanging on the front there. Okay, so then we have typically, his wing's going to come in here. It's going to have that. The other wing's going to come back in the back here. You don't have to put all this detail in. I'm just putting some dark in there. It's going to get covered up anyhow. And we're going to split that tail a little bit. But up here, we're going to put so around his beak here, he's got his little, I call mask. You might pretty much, maybe everybody does call it mask, but comes up around like so and kind of tapers down. And it's just to kind of get it in there. Okay, and it kind of goes up like that. All right, and he's going to have a little line there on his beak. Now that's to get him in there. We're going to let that. Well, we got him in there. He's traced in there. That's the bases. Now we're going to put more paint on them because you can certainly still see the trees through there. But we'll come back to him after we get the other little guy down here. We're going to put this other one down here on this little hand where he's sitting here. So again, with the same basic deal here. Kind of think, where you want him to actually sit and how you want his head and all that. So I'm going to come down like this. I want this one to come down a little bit more. It's coming downwards a little bit more. So we'll go like this. Okay. And I'm going to put the head on here. It's going to be more down like this, like I said, more downward. He's kind of looking down a little bit. And then his little top here, the beak's going to come down here, and this is going to come up like this. And a little streak down, and back towards the back of his head there. Put a little curve in there. There we go. And then his little beak, I wanted it to be just along here a little bit more than, like he's looking down at that hand a little more. Okay. And then he's going to have his feathers, tail feathers, going to come up here. We're going to kind of put them up in here. There's one. Make another little hump here. And come down in here. There we go. Put him a little more onto his body there. There we go. And he's sitting there. We're going to get the little black for his legs. We got one leg coming out here. Get a little more black on there. The one leg's going to come out here on this side. And it's going to, hook his feet there. And then he's going to have the other one. I think it's going to come up from the other side and hook over here. Like that. So that'll go on the other side there. Okay. And he'll, of course, have his wings spread in there. The other wing. Going to put that other wing up there a little bit more so you can see it. And we're going to do the same thing, put in just a temporary, go around his beak first. And it's going to be a temporary mask. Up around there, come down and around. There. And that's just to temporarily get them in there. Okay. All right. So we got that's the base coats of them, and we're gonna let that dry a little bit before we'll come back in and put a little bit more there. Now our nose is probably pretty well dry here. I think we can probably come back in here and maybe put in a little more of that orange color here. Try to get that orange on that nose a little bit more. You can use a liner brush, or I'm using a little 1/2 inch brush right now, but if you want to use a liner brush, I kind of like the 1/2 inch because I can do these little, go with the shape and strokes of his nose. Some of that little black showing up, which is fine. That just adds to the shape of his carrot. Other side here. There we go. And again, if that's not, orange is not for you, which it looks a little bit brighter on there, but you can always add more. But I think that's probably good. Okay. And I'm going to take my brush again. There it is. Fish it out of there. I'll take my big brush, go back in here. Now I'm going to take some, I want to have a little bit of snow right up in here. So I'm just going to kind of plop on some white here. Right there on that part of the hat. Okay, I'm going to put just a touch up here where our bird is, and a little bit up here. I don't want a lot of snow on him. I don't think he's sitting out there in the snow that long. I think he's got things to do, and he's running around. Okay. All right, so I'm going to take my liner brush again, go back to it, and into my black. Well, my bird's drying a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and just go ahead and put some black around here, trim around everything. And one of the things, I use this matte fluid medium. It's really nice if I want this to flow really well and thin it down, be a little bit transparent. Sometimes that helps. Instead of it being a straight black, sometimes it helps it almost be more of a shadow than being like, real bold. But it definitely makes it go a little more fluid. If you're painting something like you want to keep wet for a little bit longer, or maybe you're painting water, this really helps. But we're going to go around this. Just going like outlining it a little bit. And if you're anything like, what I do here, I got a little unsteady hand sometimes, so I try to put my pinky under. That's why I was drying some of it up too, so I don't have my pinky in everything. And we got that little snow there, so put it in there. Come around here. Just kind of outline it, make it pop out there a little bit. That definition in here a little bit more, so I'm going to come up and under. Guess I could have put that in there before I put the snow, huh? Okay, we're going to go around our carrot as well. Put some little line here. And as I go in on this carrot, as I go around it, I'm going to bring in a couple of those dark black lines. Just to give those little indications, that it has that, those little lines, like the carrots does. I'm going to try to go a little bit lighter on this one side. Swoop it down here. Like I said, put in some of them lines. On the other side. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to up around the hat there, up here, and around here. Just a basic outline. And you wouldn't have to do this, but I think I like doing it. If you're not doing like a realistic painting, which this is not, I think it just brightens it up and pulls everything out. And also it's a chance if you need to tidy something up a little bit, you can do that. Tidy it up a little bit. And then we're going to go all the way around everything else. But my red on my bow, I'm going to rinse that out. As you can see, it's kind of coming together. We're getting there. I'm going to pull this chair down here. And on the red here, I want to do some white stripes on there. And so I'm just going to go into my white here and kind of load up my brush here. And you got to kind of decide, where you want your stripes to be and how big you want them. I think I'm just going to kind of put some about like that. I think's good. As I get in the middle, I go a little straighter, and then I start, as I go out of the middle, then I'm going to start curving the other direction. So it's curving, left, kind of a left curve there. And then on this side, I'm going to start curving more towards the right. Just to kind of show that curve in his scarf here. As it goes around his neck, maybe there's a little one around there in that corner. Maybe one right there, like that. Okay. And then I'm going to have mine coming down below here. Come down on the scarf here. And they're not perfect lines because we got, different directions we're going here. It's kind of the way it's laying. We'll trim this out too when we get done here. And that one's starting to curve the other way. Like that. Okay. Now I'm going to rinse my brush out. I'm going to take some black. Again, a little bit of that medium just to make it so it runs smoothly. And first I'm going to come in here, to just make sure I don't have too much water on there. I didn't get my brush completely, so dump that up. I didn't get my brush all the way dry on that last rinse, so clean that up. All right, so I'm going to take this black. I'm just going to put some little indications of where those little pieces come out, or the little strands are coming out there, the fringe, and just wanted to indicate those are there. We'll go over with a little more of that red, bring that out of those. Okay, so go back in our red. Fair amount of brush, or paint on the brush, not brush on the paint. And I'm just going to pop those back in. Pop it back in. Just to make that a little bit bolder and stronger, brighter. Maybe our fringe needs to be a little bit longer. This, again, up to you. This one, like I said, runs off a little bit, so I'm not going to see it all. Break some of that over there. Okay, I think that's probably good there. Okay, so as we said with our bird here, I wanted to go ahead and get some more of this red, just the plain red here. And we just want to get more red in all the places that I put it. Other than where the black is. And you can go over the black a little bit. It'll just be a natural shading for it, but you want to make sure that you get all that red in there. Okay. And I'm going to come down and do the same thing with this one while we get this red going here. And I didn't go over the beak with the red because I'm actually going to make it, they are usually red. Their beak's usually is red. But I think I'm going to make it just a touch more towards the orange color. And just as I'm painting this, I'm going again with the flow, the way we want the bird, the movement of his wings and stuff. Okay, I'll rinse out my brush. I'm going to go back into the black, just a little bit in the black here. Make sure my brush is nice and dry. I don't go dripping a bunch of paint on it. So I'm going to go back in here, and now I've got some fresh black, and it's a little bit, the paint's a little bit drier. Put his mask in there a little bit more. Maybe I want to indicate the wings a little bit stronger there. This is the back wing sticking out from the other side. And this one, let's put just to kind of separate those tail here. Okay. And then we're going to up here do the same thing up here. He's not too bad up here. He's didn't lose too much of his. Just kind of put that in there. His little leg there. Yeah. Okay. So now next thing on your little bird, you need to make sure your brush is good and dry. Now I'm going to go into the white. Okay. The first thing we're just going to get a teeny tiny little bit of white on the tip of the brush there. And you're going to take up here where his eye is. And you're going to put just the, too much water. Don't do like I just did. Too much water. So pick that back up. You want to make sure your brush is good and dry. And your paint's dry. Okay. So yeah, we're going to put that little teeny tiny spot on his eye there. And we're going to make it like a little half moon indication on the back of it. And you may have, like I'm going to come back in here with my black. On that back. And I'm going to take some of that. I don't want that spot in his eye to be that big. Just a little tiny spot there. Now I'm going to try to do the same thing. I'm just going to barely touch that white, and I'm going to put just a teeny little spot down here and put just a slight tiny little half moon there for his eye. Now we can go into a little more of the white. Maybe put a little bit of highlight in here. Nothing too, just to show a little extra light on him. Maybe up here on his little mat or crown. A little bit on the wing there. A bit on his chest. There. That's all we need on that. Okay. Now we'll go back on here on our carrot. Now I want to put a little bit of some white here and there. Maybe it's got a little bit of snow on there. Not a lot, just a little bit here and there. Okay. I'm going to take a little bit of that gray just under that nose. I'm going to put a little bit of that gray. That's just to kind of make it look like that carrot's sticking down in there a little bit more. You can do the same thing down here under the buttons. A little bit of gray under swoop there. Okay, then we're going to take some white, and we can take, and you can just add like a little highlight here and there on your button. Something like that. Shows little buttons there. You could do the same thing up here and there. Wouldn't do it all, like over the whole thing. And they're not terribly smooth, so you wouldn't want to do too much. You put a little gray under those. Okay. I don't know what that, I got something showing through my, where I painted underneath here. There's something on my, did it up a little bit. Something showing through. I had some tape or something on there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and outline the rest of this. And I'm going to add some snowflakes. And we're going to do this stencil. And this is not all completely dry, so maybe by the time we get done doing that line, if not, we'll blow dry it. So I'm going to go ahead and let's go ahead and finish up this outlining. Outliner, scarf as well. Gotta try to keep my fingers out of the paint where it's wet. Just to kind of cleans them up a little bit and outlines them and defines them a little bit more, so you can kind of see where everything is. And if you wanted to add, little highlights to your scarf or something, you could certainly do that if you wanted. I think the white stripes is fine. I don't really think I'm going to add anything there. Just kind of going to outline it all. I'm just going to put a couple little the black in there. I'm not going to go over all of that. All those fringes, don't want to do that all in black. Indication where maybe one comes over top another. There we go. Okay, I've got this side right here. Now this is where you decide too. And do you want your snowman, just kind of go ahead and outline like over here where it comes over? Or you could not. That would be entirely up to you. And down here at the bottom. Just kind of stand back. When you're working up close, you think, oh, maybe something don't look right or whatever. You need to stand back and take a look. We're going to outline our birch trees too. I'm going to put a little bit more black here. This is had a little more white than I wanted. Put a little more black in here. Okay. And then the same thing we did with that gray for this little arm here that is going in there. I want to put a little more of that. Make it look like it's sitting down in there, not sitting up on top. This one you can't really tell, so I want to do that. Clean off my brush. I'll get a little sip of my paint here, or sip of my paint, sip of my pop. All right, let's scoop this down just a tad. And we're gonna go ahead and outline our birch trees. Again, this just kind of cleans them up. So anyhow, you'll have to let me know your thoughts on the barn quilt. It would be wooden, probably. I'll have a wooden base, and it'll be traced on, and then you'll have separate pieces, about 16 pieces, that you'll paint individually, and you'll paint the traced on area, and then you'll glue on the other pieces to give it 3D. And then we'll have framing, some frame wood, just kind of thin wood. That way we'll nail together to frame it out. And I was thinking of going about 18 inches. That way it could be put outside, or you could still hang it on a wall or something if you want it. Or you can hang it on your barn, which would be cool. Here I've picked up paint where I've stuck my finger, so. But yeah, you have to let me know if that's something you think you might be interested in. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna do one up, and I'll post pictures of it and see what the interest is. And if we do have them, a lot of interest in doing one, then I might do an in-person paint party where you pre-order your kit, and then we go meet up and paint together. Or I could possibly, if it's not as much interest as, to do an actual party, then I could do like kits that you could purchase, and then have a pickup day. You would pre-order them, prepay, and have a pickup day and time when they would be available to be picked up locally. And of course, shipping would be available, but it can be a little spendy sometimes. So that'd be something you'd have to think about there. Just getting these outlined. That one there. And of course, the ones that run off the edge of the board, we won't have to outline the outside of those. And then the next thing we're going to do is stencil. If you did like me and you picked up some paint with your finger, you can either leave it, or you can come back and just touch it up a little bit with some of the paint, which I might do that. Right now I'm just going to get these trees lined, and then we'll start on the stencil. Show you that. Let's scoot this up. Go up there. Got that one coming down through here a little bit. There. And got one at the bottom. And this one here, barely. We barely set. Okay, so those are outlined. All right. So now our stencil, or my paint's just a tad wet yet, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. I'll just have to do it really gingerly. I'm going to find my brush here. I think I'm going to use a sponge on that one because since it's not so dry. Since it's not so dry, I don't want to put a lot of pressure with the brush. So I've got these little daubers. These are really nice. This is what I call the small round dauber. This is actually one that I use a lot for some other things. But I'm going to use those. And I got my stencil here. And we're going to do snowflakes too, but I'm going to go ahead and get the words. And I'm turning it sideways for two reasons. I want it that way, but I also want room to write. I'm going to put still on there, handwrite it in there, so I wanted to do that. Now, if your stuff was really dry, you could take that down. And you can use any color you want. I am just using some black. And as I come in here, I'll get some paint on my sponge. Again, you want to stamp that off as much as you can, even if you need to use a, paper towel or something. But you want this to, your stencil to be nice and hold still, the best you can there. And go over that. And I'm just pushing down slowly. Okay. And you can go back over it, of course, if you want to touch up the paint. Mine's not always the best. If you can do it dry, the best dry. I'm going to do it kind of fast here, but the drier your brush or your little stamper, brush sponge, or whatever you're using is, and the more coats you can put them on, the better. Because it tends to bleed underneath the stencil there. And I might get some of these other things on here that I don't want. Like maybe a little bit of the snowflake, but I can always clean that up or paint over it. This is where that smaller dauber comes in, where I want to go in here and I don't want to get all that other stuff on the stencil on there. Put that in here. Get some paint on here. Try to keep your stencil down. Like I said, I'm going to switch over to the smaller one so I can get right where I want and hopefully not put snowflakes in black on my painting here. And just keep filling around here. Again, I'm doing a little more heavy than I would normally. I do a couple layers, really light. But I don't want to take up your whole time with that. You can always, with the white especially, you can trim it out. You can trim your black out a little bit with brush later if you need to clean it up a little. And of course trim over with some white to cover up the areas you don't want. Okay. Paint. I'll come in with some of that, and don't want that snowflake bit right there. You could do it in black, but I don't want black snowflakes. I could do blue, or something like that, but I don't want the black. Normally I would tape off, like if I don't want to hit those accidentally, you could tape them off of a stencil. So, what you don't want to stencil, just take those off. I didn't think of doing that before I started, so I'll just clean it up. Okay. Hold those down as you can. The more you can hold around those edges, it's so much better. I hope I just didn't move it. My finger got caught on there. I was like, oh. Things happen. Happy accidents, all right? No mistakes, just happy accidents. All right, so I'll pull that off. And I'm going to clean off my fingers here a little bit. My fingers off a little bit, and I have a baby wipe handy, so if I got some spots maybe I want to clean off. So lift that up gently. And like I said, this is where, it does pull off a little paint if your paint's not completely dry, and that's what I have there is a little bit of that. So kind of the importance of, make sure you keep your paint nice and dry before you go and do this. That's all right. So a little touch up here and there, and then I'm going to add that the wording. I just think that baby, it's cold outside, but it's still winter. It's still cold, so that's why I decided I'm going to put still cold. And we're going to put some green lettering around the edges there too. Just kind of fancy it up a little bit and give them little shadows, cast shadows. Now clean that out. Got my black here where some of the paint pulled up here. And again, I did not have my brush a little wet again. All right, put that back in there. and just did some more with my fingers. Keep your fingers out of the paint, Amy. Touch it up again where I did that. All right. Now, if I can keep my fingers off of it. I'm going to take the blow dryers for a second. All right. So then I'm going to take, actually, I'm going to take some of this Caribbean blue that I just love this Caribbean blue for all kinds of stuff. Paintings. Oops. Little drift there. And you can outline your letters there. Give them a little outline there if you want with green, or I'm going to take some of this Caribbean blue and just kind of outline them a little bit. I mean, I guess green is, probably should get a little more green for what I'm using here. Bring that a little bit. So I'm going to mix some of my green and that Caribbean blue so that I want a lighter green. But I still want it to be a little more towards that Caribbean blue. There we go. There, that's not too bad. All right. And then I'm just going to come in here and kind of go and outline around the letters here. Like maybe I'm going to put a little bit right here on this side. And maybe a little bit on this side. And where they have these little stops in between your letters, when you do stenciling, if you know about stenciling, we put those in there so that your stencil isn't all floppy and stuff, and so pieces will actually cut out too. And some people paint them in, and some people, just prefer to leave them in there. And on this particular case, I think I'm just going to leave them in. This is just a little, like I said, a little bit. Add a little bit of color here. Don't have to do it all. I'm just kind of like putting some on one side, maybe some on the hoops. Put a little bit right there. My hardest part is, of course, trying to keep my fingers from pulling paint off. So I want to put my pinky down here to brace it. And it's just still a little damp enough to pull off. And again, like I said, on this, you can, you decide how much you want to do, how much accents you want to put in there. If you want a little, a lot, or, it's totally up to you. Rinse out my brush here. I'll get back in my black here just for a minute here. And I'm going to, just a couple places, maybe I don't like how I went over the lettering a little bit, so I'm going to pull that. First touch up where I just pulled paint. And this is something that, you know, this kind of stuff here, you certainly can tweak, you know, however you want it. If you want it nice and neat, you can go back through and make sure everything's all nice and neat. You can clean the edges or, you know, however you want to do it. Okay. Baby, it's cold, but I wanted to put still over here. So here we go. I got a little, find all my little touch-ups here. It's driving me crazy where I pulled up the paint. So baby, it's cold outside, and I'm going to put still over here, like right in here. Baby, it's still. So kind of want to do big long swoopy S here. And make it a little bit bigger in the bottom here. And I'm going to do the small T still. Like that. That's all like that. And I'll highlight that with the green as well. Maybe I'll put it right under here. All right. And I think that's probably good right there. And I think we're going to put like, maybe we're going to add some of that other stuff here and get it back in my black. Just add, make it kind of be part of it. We're going to do some of these little things like are over there on the other side. The one right over here. Oh, there, over here. There. Just to kind of make it fall in there. All right. So we got those in, and now we're going to do some snowflakes. And kind of the same thing here. This whole stencil had some nice snowflakes on there, but there's really just this one that I'm interested in doing. So I'm going to have to be really careful and do it without getting all over the rest of the stencil here. And I'm going to clean that and dry it off, or use another stencil there. Let's see. it's a little, all right, I'll just use this one. So I need to get some, I want to do some white and a little bit of blue in with my white. So I'm going to move that. So I'm going to just put some white on here. And a little bit of that, there's that Caribbean blue. All right. Now you can take, if you want, like blue snowflakes, which I'm going to add more blue to mine because I want them to be bluer. You can even just add straight blue, or add white to them, make them a little lighter. And I'm going to add that. I'm going to start with some of these really blue ones. Dop off some of that paint because on the white where the snowman is, of course, I want this white on white's not going to show for one. So I'm going to do a blue. I'll start. And on the snowflakes, I mean, again, it's up to you. You can make sure they're all completely covered or just do them light when they're not completely covered. I kind of like that. That works pretty good. Pretty little snowflake. And we're going to come up here towards the top. I'll slide it down here again. So I'd like to have some snow up here. Up in this little section, I'm going to put just a little bit of it trailing over top of the birch tree there. I'm doing the blue on here. And then before I go too far, I want to add I want to add some white in there. I want this one to kind of be a little bit of white and blue mix here. Probably good there. Bring it up. There we go. Something like that. Okay. And then just wherever you want to put, your snowflakes, you can put those. Extensive thing. Knock that off a little bit. I think there's going to be one maybe over in this area, like right there. Again, like I said, you can do white up here, or you can do the blue, whatever kind you want to do. Set up. And that one I'm not as fond as that one because it's kind of bled together a little bit. So not as crazy about that snowflake. And I think we're going to put maybe one right here. There we go. Here. And then you can add like snow, just little drops of snow if you wanted to. That's again totally up to you on that. Move this over here. Bring it back up a little bit. Okay. So now, like I said, if you had some spots, maybe some areas that, again, like up here in the hat, maybe I like I said, picked up with my finger there a little bit. You can come back in here, and that's going to give it some texture, actually, you know, putting that paint in there. Just want to get some of those spots where I picked up the paint. Just where I stuck my fingers there and kind of picked it up. Just clean it up there a little bit. All right. So with that, I think pretty much, like I said, you can work on, if you wanted to straighten out the little edges and stuff, you know, on your, like your lettering and stuff, which is something I probably would do myself, but or you can just leave it as is. It's, again, not supposed to be a perfect little piece, but just a fun little piece. Because, like, again, like I said, yes, it's still cold outside, baby. It hasn't warmed up any. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed this painting, and I hope, you know, I'll see you. Maybe you'll try it and post it on, you know, on my page or your page or something, and share it with me, tag me with it. I'd love to see it. So again, it's just a cute, fun little painting here. Over here a little bit more there. There you go. And there we have it. Baby, it's still cold outside. So thanks a lot for joining me. And again, you know, watch for the upcoming parties. I'd love to have you in there. I appreciate you joining me. I hope you enjoyed this snowman. It was a lot of fun for me as well. And so I'll say goodbye to you. And till the next time, we'll see you later. Okay? So take care.